London's favorite celeb couple, Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard. Hot Topics are in the house with Whoopi, Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, and Jedediah Bila. Now, let's get things started.
So yesterday, in the city of London, they fell victim to a terror attack that claimed 3 lives and injured 40. The attacker was British-born, but ISIS is claiming responsibility for inspiring him. And of course, our hearts and prayers are with everyone dealing with this right now, because our friends over in London, you know, they've lived through these kinds of attacks before, you know, when they were not getting along with Ireland, but it's never like, you never get used to it.
No.
You know.
Nor should you.
No,
should you.
no. And, you know, while messages of support are pouring in for London from around the world, the new guy's son, Junior, decided to forego sympathy and instead attack London's mayor, tweeting, "You've got to be kidding me. Terror attacks are part of living in the big city," says London Mayor Sadiq Khan. Now, perhaps this young man needs to do a little more reading, or maybe read carefully, because not only is this a 6-month-old quote, but the actual quote, the mayor went on to say that because of the consistent threat of terror, Londoners must always be vigilant, prepared, and support the police.
Yeah.
That was in its entirety.
What is he up to? What is this kid?
I don't know.
I think he wanted to look
What's his
like.
point?
I think he wanted to look like he was a guy who was tough on terrorism, and somehow they weren't. Not recognizing that the reality is that if you do, I mean, we're in New York City. If you live in a big city, these threats are real, and sometimes no matter what you do, you can't prevent every time. And the fact is that this guy Khan, in his article, was calling for vigilance. He was calling for tougher policing. He was calling to be tough against these things. So to me, it looked like an opportunity to seize a political talking point, and that's not the time for that.
Make fake news.
But that's not the time for that. People just died.
Right? Because he's supposed to be in charge of Donald Trump's business empire now. So he shouldn't be tweeting anything at all.
Don't forget, he's a big game hunter. He likes to kill elephants.
Well, yeah, and other animals. But I thought what was interesting was this was a British-born terrorist.
Yeah.
And so what does that say about Donald Trump's Muslim ban?
Well, what about
Right?
Brexit? That's
And
one of the
Brexit.
reasons that they're getting out of the European Union is because of immigration, and they're worried about refugees. And now it's a homegrown guy
British-born.
who's
But this
born
is also-
exactly. We have the same issue here.
Yeah.
This is also the problem with Donald Trump himself and his Twitter habits. And I think it's not a coincidence it's his son right now. The fact that you can have an immediate broadcast message in the click of a button doesn't mean you should have an immediate broadcast. The fact that there was no accuracy, it was misleading, it was misinformed.
And no
he
sympathy.
No,
That's
saying,
the most
hey,
glaring. This is really terrible.
That's a glaring thing. But he has 1.47 million followers.
The apple doesn't fall
He
far
can
from the
have
tree.
as many followers as he wants. He needs to do his bloody homework. Do your homework, know what you're talking about, and then tweet. Or just
Or
look
don't
stupid.
tweet.
Or don't
tweet.
Wait,
It's
my
not
God,
his place.
Keep your mouth shut. Anyway, House Intelligence Chair, Congressman Devin Nunes, shocked a lot of people yesterday when he dropped a poop bombshell about information he said he had just received. Take a look.
On numerous occasions, the intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition. Details about U.S. persons associated with the incoming administration, details with little or no apparent foreign intelligence value, were widely disseminated in intelligence community reporting. Third, I have confirmed that additional names of Trump transition team members were unmasked. And fourth and finally, I want to be clear, none of this surveillance was related to Russia or the investigation of Russian activities or of the Trump team.
So we're going to be talking to the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff, about this in a little bit, but a lot of people are asking why Nunes didn't share this info with his own committee before running to the media and to the president.
Yeah, that's
is this what is going on here, you think?
Well, didn't he say recently, maybe yesterday or last week again, that that the president was not wiretapped, that the president, Obama did not wiretap Trump? He said that, and he's a Republican, and he's supposed to be a Trump person. So he was trying to, I think, make up for that little faux pas and get back in the good graces of Donald Trump. So he ran to Donald Trump like a little toady and goes, you know, you got something here. You can now say you're vindicated.
Yeah. The timeline here, though, is very alarming to me. You
That's
have
what I
Donald
think
Trump coming out initially and saying that Obama tapped the phones. Then you have Trump transitioning to this wiretapping in quotes, like, oh, I'm talking about broad surveillance. I'm not talking about Obama tapping the phones. Now you have Nunes, who's a former member of Trump's transition team, coming out and providing some sort of, in his mind, validation for a broader surveillance and bringing that information not to his own committee, but directly to the guy whose former team he was a member of that transition team.
Because he's not objective, and he shouldn't be there.
But what is this information? This information does not prove what Donald Trump said initially, but it does try or attempt to prove what he said secondarily. So my question is, Nunes, you're a former member of the transition team. Are you interested in finding out if Russia compromised our election, or are you an ally still of Donald Trump and trying to prove his tweets that he initially
Well,
put
that's
out?
what Adam Schiff
That's
is
my
saying, that
question.
he's a surrogate of the Trump campaign.
Well, maybe so, but so here's my question.
Yeah.
Who is this guy, and does he know anything? Does he work with Comey?
Nunes?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, because why am I going to take your word for it when the head of the FBI said, here's what the deal is?
Right.
And I know a lot of people saying, see, Donald is being vindicated. He's not vindicated. He said Barack Obama tapped my phone. Was very clear about who tapped the phone. That's what he said.
And he's a bad guy.
And it did not happen. So you can't be vindicated because what you said initially, not what you said 4 or 5 days later, what you said initially was that Obama did it. So now we know that that's not true. We also know that because there are some people living in the Trump Tower who may or may not be Russian operatives, may or may not be connected to stuff. There might be a reason people were listening in, but no one was directly tapping you. So I say what I said the other day.
And do we have time for me to say
go ahead.
something? What's interesting is federal authorities, in order to get that FISA warrant, they have to not only demonstrate to a judge probable cause, but that a given phone line serves primarily to undermine U.S. interests.
Well,
that's how you get the warrant.
One more thing. One more thing. We have time.
No, we don't. We got him because he's coming up. That's why they're trying.
All right.
Go ahead. Do it.
One more thing. I said the other day that he's a liar, this guy, this Nunes, because they asked him if he knew Roger Stone, and he said no. Roger Stone was a political consultant in Washington since the 70s. You don't know who he is? I'm sorry, you're a liar. You're a liar.
And now we're gone.
Next, Congressman Adam Schiff is live with the latest on the investigation into Team Trump and Russia that he claims would be one of the most shocking betrayals in American history. This is where strong people come to voice their view
The fabulous Rachel Maddow.
and refuse to back down.
You took a lot of heat. What do you say to that?
For me, that's what I felt like I had to do. And like me or don't, I did it right.
We are View Strong all day long.
Love us or hate us, you're not going to hear what we do anywhere else.
You tell him, sister.
Don't be afraid to speak your mind, because you know we're not.
Yes.
On The View on ABC.
He's asleep.
I somewhat do. I must tell you, I somewhat do. I very much appreciated the fact that they found what they found, but I somewhat do.
We've been talking about how Team T is using yesterday's bombshell surveillance claims to say they were right about wiretapping, but the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee has a much different take on all of this, and Congressman Adam Schiff is joining us via satellite. Hey, Congressman, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. So all of this insanity happened yesterday. I mean, what are you guys feeling about it? Did you feel blindsided? How are you feeling about it?
Well, you know, certainly blindsided, but mostly just mystified. Here we're trying to conduct a credible investigation into a variety of allegations involving Russian hacking of our elections, including whether there were Trump campaign associates who colluded in some way with the Russians. And to have our chairman take evidence that he received perhaps in the dead of night and not bring it to the committee, and we still haven't seen it today, neither Democrats nor Republicans, but bring it to the White House when it's associates of this president who are under investigation, was just a complete head-scratcher. And then today I saw an interview with the chair where he was asked whether he got the materials from the White House, and he wasn't willing to rule that out. So it just gets more and more mystifying. And what concerns me is, you know, we need to do a real investigation of this, and we need to do it credibly. We need to do it in a nonpartisan way. And we can't have our chair acting as a
compromise,
as a surrogate for the administration. Yeah. He has to either have the surrogate role or the chairman role, but he can't do both.
Yeah.
Congressman Jedediah here. There are reports today that Nunes privately apologized to the Intel Committee. Is that true? Is there any truth to that?
You know, we did have a private discussion in the committee among all the members. I really don't want to go into the private discussions, but I certainly can say that, you know, we shared our concerns with the chair and with the majority about what happened yesterday and how the investigation is being conducted. We expressed our continuing desire to get to the bottom of this, follow the facts where they may, but the actions of yesterday really put a significant cloud over where that's possible. And I think it did underscore something we've been urging really all along, and that is we really do need an independent commission, completely separate and apart from Congress, that can conduct this at the same time.
When do you think you can expect to see those reports, and when can we find out what was actually in these reports, which we actually, to this day, to this minute, do not know where they came from?
You know, I don't know. We certainly asked the chairman that. He wasn't able to tell us when we might get them, if we might get them. Right now, the only basis we have to know about anything in them is what the chair has related. So obviously it's impossible to evaluate any of this. I can't say even on the basis of what the chairman has said or represented about these intercepts, nothing in it vindicates the president in any way. Even according to the chairman's own representation, it didn't involve the Russia investigation. There's no evidence that the intercepts were anything but lawfully collected, which means that they weren't targeted at the president. So nothing in that contradicts what the director of the FBI said, the director of the NSA said, the Department of Justice said, which is essentially there's no basis for the president's slanderous accusation against his predecessor.
Right. Okay, this is Joy Behar speaking. You know, what do you think is his motivation, Nunes? He went to Paul Ryan before you, he went to the press before you, and of course he went to Trump before you, and Trump, of course, is the subject of the investigation. What was the motivation, do you think?
You know, I really don't know. You'd have to ask him that. I have to imagine that he's having difficulty separating his role as a surrogate for the administration with his role as a committee chairman that has to do in a very important, arguably pivotally important investigation. And he's ultimately going to have to make that decision, but he can't do both of these roles, and it really compromises the work that we're doing. I think members on both sides of the aisle want to get to the bottom of this. They realize this really merits a serious investigation, but this just made that much more difficult.
Right.
You know, he's been Nunes has been so critical of leaks. Did he totally contradict himself by giving out this information, including basically revealing that the alleged wiretap was legal and done under a FISA warrant?
Well, we shouldn't be talking about FISA surveillance, and I think all the members, including the chairman, have to be very careful about that. There is certainly an irony here, given the administration has been so critical about anybody talking about FISA, particularly in the context of Michael Flynn, that the chair would now start talking about FISA publicly and mention that members of the Trump transition team were incidentally collected. That's really not something to be talking about publicly. So you're absolutely right. I think it is more than a bit ironic.
Congressman, this is Sarah Haynes. Do you think it was ever appropriate that a former Trump transition team member was heading up this investigation in the first place? And do you think the chairman should now be removed from his role on the committee?
Well, I wouldn't say that, someone's involvement in a campaign per se makes them unqualified to work on an investigation, even chair an investigation. But if you take actions like this, where it calls into question your objectivity, calls into question whether you'll be willing to conduct the kind of investigation that's necessary, then it's a real problem. At the end of the day, it's the Speaker's decision about whether he thinks the chair can continue and be credible in this investigation. But I will say this, I think yesterday, more than any single event, underscored why an independent commission is so essential here. The Congress can continue to do its investigation and should, but I would sleep better knowing that there was a body that was truly apart from the Congress, that had no political considerations to weigh, that was looking at all this evidence.
Congressman, you made yesterday what some are deeming a provocative statement by saying that there is more than circumstantial evidence now that the Trump camp colluded with Russia. Senator John McCain was critical of that. Others have been critical of that. Can you defend that statement?
Yes, and I don't view it as the same bombshell that apparently they did. Look, I've said that I thought there was circumstantial evidence of collusion or coordination, and that there was direct evidence of deception. And no one had an issue with that. I don't think anyone really contested that. On the basis of the information we keep getting, I can say, in my opinion, it's now not purely circumstantial. We had the FBI director testify in open session about this, acknowledge an FBI investigation. Obviously, this is now public. And I think it's fair to say that that FBI investigation is justified, that wouldn't be done on the basis of not credible allegations. And so I think it's appropriate to talk in general terms about the evidence. But I don't think it's appropriate for us to go into specifics and say, this is what we know, from this piece of classified information, or this is what we know from this witness. Right. But I do think in this investigation where the public is hungry for information, it is important that we try to keep the public in the loop. That's why we're having public hearings.
Well, you all have your work cut out for you. You got this health care bill you're voting on tonight, and, let's hope that it does not pass, because it's not a good bill. Thank you, Congressman Adam Schiff. Next time, when this sort of dust settles, you should come up and just sit with us, because I think you might have a good time with us, and we could pepper you with lots more questions.
I look forward to it. You're on. That's it.
Thank you, Congressman. We'll be right back.
Stars Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard.
Yesterday, the Daytime Emmy nominations were announced, and I think they were announced on The Talk. And I think a couple of the women weren't sure about the pronunciation of everyone's name. So
really?
Please, yes. So please introduce yourself so people know.
I'm Jedediah Bila. Tough one.
I'm Sarah Gaines.
Right.
I'm Angelina Jolie.
Sunny Hostin.
Yes. So, we're thrilled that you guys announced us. We love that. And we just wanted to say, hey, here's how you do our names. Because maybe some of our names are a little more difficult for folks. So if they don't know, so we figured. And I think we scored 5 for hair and makeup, lighting. And we just want to say, congratulations to everybody who does this show, because I think we're also up for Best Show.
Yes, we are.
A lot of people are bitter after a relationship ends. And a woman wrote into New York Magazine's advice column asking why her horrible ex-boyfriend gets to live happily ever after with a new love, and he left her or she left him, but he was rotten to her, and why does he get to have a good life?
And be happy.
If you're looking, you still care. That's what I have to say to that. What I learned is that if I was still stalking, I was still invested.
Stalking?
And no, it's true. You stalk a little bit on Instagram, on Twitter. Girls know what I'm talking about. But if you're doing that, it's for 2 reasons. I either wasn't happy in where I was, or I was still thinking about him. Because when I'm really over it, I don't care if you're happy, you're sad, you're hanging from a diamond chandelier. I don't care what you're doing.
Exactly. And that's the problem because in the column she says, I am very happy. I have moved on. No, chica, you haven't. Because the issue is she's looking at his Instagram, she's looking at his social media accounts, and she now knows that he's pretty happy.
And it's bugging her.
And I would, bugging her.
Even just the way that she describes him as her horrible ex-boyfriend, it kind of tells me a little bit about her because they're exes and it doesn't work out. But I don't think I'd ever describe them, even though it wasn't right for us, as awful and horrible.
I've had some awful ones.
I've had bad relationships, but I wouldn't say the people that I stayed with long enough to care were
the guy
awful
that
or
broke
horrible.
up with me on New Year's Eve because he said he wanted to start the new year off right, and that was without me, was an awful person, and you know who you are. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. Have you ever stalked an
I
ex?
just feel like, how can they be happy if they didn't end up with me?
There you go. There you go.
Whoopi's looking at us like, why am I here? How did this happen to me?
It's too much time.
Yeah.
You know, if you're out of my life, I don't have time for you. I have a whole life to do. So going and looking on Instagram. I mean, I don't understand it.
I think you might be too healthy for me. That's a very healthy mindset.
I mean, but look at it. Why would you waste time on someone who you're not happy with?
You're right.
Why you got out of the relationship? Be grateful for that.
You're right.
Get out.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Did you know that today is National Puppy Day?
Yes.
And America needs some furry friends to feel good about right now. So we want to highlight two of them that are fantastic. Rowdy the Labrador, who helped a boy with the skin condition vitiligo. It's nothing to be self-conscious about. Look how cute they are. They both suffer from the same thing. We thought we needed to show you there's still great things in the world happening in the world. So they got to do a photograph together and get together.
Can I add one thing on that?
Yeah.
I had a friend in high school who had vitiligo, and she once posted on her Facebook page that she'd run into a little kid at the grocery store that said to her, "You're so lucky." And she was like, "Why?" And she said, "Because God painted you two colors." And I was like, what a beautiful way.
Yes.
I've never forgotten that.
And so many people suffer from it. I think 50 million people have vitiligo in the world.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have that.
It's tough, and it's, you know how kids can be. So to be able to bring you this story is fantastic to us. And Joe Biden, not the vice president, but the dog. And the two of them actually met face-to-face at an event in D.C.
They named the dog Joe Biden?
Yeah, because it was her favorite politician.
Yeah.
That's so cute. And I also read that Vladimir Putin has a lap dog. What do you think he should name it?
You're just trying to get me to say his name. Not until he leaves. Not until he leaves. So, we were talking about something very odd a second ago, and now I can't remember what it was. So,
About
we'll be right. Was it? No. I'll find out what it was. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Dax Shepard.
And I am Mr. Kristen Bell, and we are here to talk about chips coming up next.
Tomorrow on The View, we've got some Tell 'em Whoopi
Big hot topics.
We're talking big.
and we're getting our funny on.
That's fun.
Because we're laughing it up with Anthony Anderson.
Damn, I should come here every day.
That's right.
Tomorrow on The View on ABC.
Everybody's favorite Hollywood couple, Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard, star in the reboot of everyone's favorite 70s buddy cop series, Chips, which Dax also wrote and directed. So please welcome the fabulous Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard.
Guys, this was backstage.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know if it was
You couldn't
just
have found
for
a
me.
Parenthood box of Kleenex. You had to have the
You
front.
realize you're at ABC Disney, okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
hello.
Oh, no, all explained.
Yes. Let it go. Let it go.
I saw what you did there, Will.
We did it just for you because you are the voice of honor.
Thank you. Yes, I was.
Yes.
I was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, baby, you guys went out on the town last night in New York. What did you do and where did you go?
We went to see Hamilton. I was so over the moon about because I love theater and musical theater, and I haven't been to anything in so long because we have so many kids. And I was crying before it even started.
Yeah. Wow. You just
I
need
loved
to
it.
be in the theater.
I was just like, everybody being there, the live theater, and he does not like any live theater at all, and actually enjoyed it.
I'm a Philistine, yeah.
That's right.
I wanted to go to a monster truck rally in New Jersey, but I guess it was too far.
I see the combination. Now, you guys.
That was Saturday.
That was Saturday?
I thought it was Saturday.
There was an encore performance last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we loved it. It was fantastic.
I actually liked it. Yeah. It was really good.
And
but they wear these, colonial outfits.
Right.
They're not the most flattering. I renamed the play Hamilton.
Yeah, because he was saying the whole time.
I can only imagine what it's like sitting next to him in a play. Hey, babe, check out the pants on that one.
Yeah, he kept saying Hamilton is very
I waited to
good.
the intermission. I waited to the intermission.
You laugh all day.
Yes.
You laugh with him all day, and you laugh with her all day.
I do.
Not as much. See how he hesitated?
Yes.
Not as
No,
much.
I have a real commitment to the truth. Not all day. You're not Jim Carrey. I mean, you're funny.
That's true.
I don't live with Whoopi. I mean, look, you're great.
And I wasn't funny all day. That's why I'm not married.
You guys live together, work together. You're obviously very much in love. I learned that from the commercial you were in. But I hear that doesn't keep you from trying to frame each other for various crimes.
That's all him. First of all, he thought it because funny. This is what it's like to live with a funny man. He grabs my phone
a
one
smart
day,
man.
and he says, I think he said something like, "Well, now I've really got you cornered."
Well, hold on a
And he had
second.
my
We watch a lot of Dateline. And a lot of
I do
spouses
too.
kill their partners. So that is an outcome you have to consider if you're married. You'd be naive to not think about that.
That's
So
true.
one way that I thought I could prevent that from ever happening is I searched on her phone how to get away with murdering my husband. So it's permanently in her search history.
And now
So
I'm
now
on
she can't
some
even
watch
entertain the
list.
thought of doing it.
That's very smart.
Right?
That's very smart. Investigators always look at the phone.
I'm the only one safe in this relationship.
But see, you
still entertain the thought.
You just blew it. You just showed
now
why she
we know
could have
it's
been.
a
You
joke.
told everybody what you
Thank
did.
I
I
can
think it's
still
still
get
hold
away
up.
with it.
I got you back here. But you also try to one-up each other on pranks. This is what I expected from
Always.
you two.
Well, yeah,
Or
especially
surprises.
in the beginning of our relationship when we had a lot more time. There was one.
Oxytocin
Yeah.
and dopamine, yeah.
There was one time where he had to go to Oregon to visit family, and I had to work at like a ladies' luncheon for work the afternoon on a Sunday. He leaves for the airport. I'm still in hair and makeup. I was like, bye, I'll miss you so much. He goes to the airport.
I'm
and
also a cheapskate, so I got a layover. That's
Yeah.
relevant to this story.
I knew it was a non-direct flight.
Yeah, I flew to like 3 cities to go to
I
Oregon.
busted my
Save
butt
$20.
to get to the lunch, finished hair and makeup, went to the luncheon for a half an hour, drove to the airport, found a direct flight because I'm not as cheap, got to Oregon before him, rented a car, and I picked him up.
My sister-in-law said I'm in a silver car, and then she pulled up. And I honestly, I couldn't compute. I was like, she time traveled. What? She wasn't even ready to leave the house when I left.
Did you love her a little more then?
Oh my God, yeah.
But then he's done it a couple of times because when I shot a movie in Alaska,
I couldn't go visit because of my parenthood schedule, but then something freed up, so I got a ticket next to her on the airplane, and I sweet-talked the gate agent. I got on before, and I held a newspaper
I've always
up,
wanted that to happen.
and I was in her seat, and so she's
and I was like,
excuse me, sir.
I think that this is my seat, and he pulls it down, and I was like, oh, great.
You guys are made for each other.
You're not buying it. I see you over here, and you're like,
You know what?
this stinks.
Look, I love people who love each other, and actually, I love people who like each other.
Yeah.
To me, that's the thing that I'm being enjoyable. But I'm also a fan of each of you individually.
But
so
can I
it's
tell
not
you,
a
it's
surprise.
more, to be honest, because we're honest, it's more about the competition than
That's
the romance. Oh, you surprised me. Well, let me look at my date book and see when I'm available to get you that.
Well, look, you seem to have a very healthy relationship that you attribute, though, to couples therapy. And apparently, you went to couples therapy even
We're
before.
in it now, I feel like.
Even before, even before you got married, which is kind of unusual.
Well,
right?
we were together for 7 years before we got married, so yeah, we spent some time.
But
with
I think
the
people
therapist.
typically, they go to...
Oh,
Oh my God, I just missed something.
You have to understand, these two are like, oh, you looked at her and blinked your eye. Oh! I mean, that's how they, so that's what you're seeing on my
We
face. It's
love
like,
it.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I think people tend to go to couples therapy when there's a catastrophic implosion happening.
Yeah.
It's usually a little late to go get an oil change when your engine blows. So we were like, hey, let's preemptively check this out. And we
were also like, we disagree on 99% of the things on the planet. I mean, we've been in New York 2 days. We've already had like
She's on the wrong side of history very often. Yeah.
But we went, and you know, we look at therapy that like you're born with a tiny toolbox. As you grow up, you learn to communicate with all the various different personalities on planet Earth. And as you go to therapy, you get more tools in your toolbox, and you can.
And what's
deal with
great
people.
is a therapist, if he or she is good, they listen to you talk for like 10 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
And they know.
You're like, okay.
And they know.
I see exactly what's going on here.
For you, though, I heard we share something similar. You kind of like the drama and the dramatic exit, like, you know, throwing phones in the middle of a highway.
Love it, love it. Feels so good in the moment. It's like scratching an itch. I can't get away with it anymore. But when we first met, I've always been very small and scrappy, and I wanted people to like respect me. So
And young like your country.
Because we need to get
Hamilton, shout out.
Young, scrappy, and hungry. And I see it. It's good.
Well, I want to make sure we get to chips.
Oh,
so
yeah, sure.
now, Dax, you ride motorcycles, and that probably came in handy in this because you are on a motorcycle a lot of the time. You're playing
Almost the
cop.
whole movie.
Yeah.
And Kristen, you play Dax's ex.
Yeah.
When we first meet your character, she's exiting the pool in a very sexy way. Take a look.
Hey.
Hey, what's up? I'm right in the middle of giving a swim lesson.
Oh, sorry.
What are you wearing?
Oh, it's my uniform from the CHP.
Aren't you supposed to change out of it after you get off work?
Yeah, you can. I mean, probably most guys. You know, it was my first day, so I thought you'd probably want to see what I look like.
In all brown?
It's great.
I feel like this wasn't even an actual scene. It might just be your lives. But
No, she's so much nicer than that.
she's so you're looking super hot there. How'd you do that, Kristen?
Well, I looked at this role as my ability to join the ranks of all the real actors who, you know, like when Christian Bale loses 200 pounds for a role, I was like a physical sacrifice for my craft. This is my
This
chance.
is her raging bull. Yeah.
And Dax, by the way, didn't care at all. He's like, I don't know, just figure out what you want to do for Karen. And I was like, ooh, long blonde extensions, and I'm not gonna pump for a day because I was breastfeeding. Because I wanted Karen to have like a really aggressive boob job, like where you can't look at anything else other than that. And he was like very hesitant. He's like, are you sure you want to do that? Because he doesn't want to over-sexualize me. And I said,
well, that's not why. I was worried.
The child not
I was worried for medical reasons. I thought they were going to rupture.
that's true. You can get.
I want you to look as hot as you can.
But I told the kids, I was like, listen, find food elsewhere. Daddy's making a movie. This is closed.
There you go.
Well, before we go, we wanted to play a little game.
Okay.
Don't look at the chips yet. About how well you know each other, and because Whoopi's not a huge game person, we just brought her chips.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So she gets to look. Now you guys are each gonna have a paddle that has Kristen and Dax.
Okay.
And Sunny, here's your bag.
Which one says
Thank you.
Kristen?
Okay.
Dax?
Take a little look. Get familiar with your
right.
tiny toolbox.
I am dyslexic.
And I'm gonna start. I'm gonna ask the first question. Okay. Who's more likely to develop a celebrity crush?
Wow, they got that right. Okay. Who will go the longest without showering?
Oh, God, yeah. Come on.
Who picks more fights?
Okay. Who's more
We're
likely?
crushing, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
Who's more likely to want to get it on?
Dax. Okay. Who's a better cook? Wow. You guys are like, that's Kristen.
Who's more likely to send nudes?
Well, I mean, likely, yeah.
You gotta be so careful. We can't do it. We can't. If like,
exactly.
I've sent him a Polaroid before because I'm not messing around with these hackers, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
I know.
I'm not doing it.
By the way,
You think that's a joke. She sincerely is, hourly, she tells me about the different security measures we need to have.
Smart.
Yeah.
So she's a little paranoid. I like it. But I forgot
I'm
to tell you
dying
that
for my nudes
the fun
to get
part
out
is this
there. No one
game.
will hack me.
This game, which you're killing, is called relationships.
Yes.
Relationships.
Yes.
Who's better at keeping secrets? We gotta have Z. We've
I
got to have
killed a
Z.
man, and I've not told
That's
anyone.
true. That's true. That's true. That's true. It's
Okay.
Dax.
Who's
It's
more
Dax.
likely to be guilty of Netflix cheating?
Yeah.
Okay, last
But
one.
very little, very little.
Yes.
Only House of Cards.
It's
I've
a
only ever
very,
done
very
that.
big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. Okay.
Netflix cheating in our household.
It's
No, I do.
bad.
It's infidelity.
No bueno.
It's
Yeah.
full blown. Who changed more diapers?
We did 50-50, and we made that agreement before we had the kids.
Yeah.
We said, you do one butt cheek,
Isn't that,
I'll
that's
do one butt
a
cheek.
pathetic state of men, and that it would be amazing
brilliant.
that I did that.
I know.
You guys have to come back, and because
guys
it's
are
just
fun.
fun. It's just fun.
Thanks
Nice
for
to
having
see
us.
you. Nice to see you.
We packed
And-
for a week. We can
Did
stay.
you?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of more shows you want to see. Opens in theaters tomorrow. We'll be right back.
Blackish star Anthony Anderson hits the table tomorrow.
There is nothing more bizarre than watching these two women go.
They're so cute.
They're so cute.
And they're so open and honest about
Yeah.
like, the
They know
struggles.
each other so well.
And we know you eat very well. We know y'all. Thanks for watching. We love you. Have a great day. Take a little time to enjoy the view.
Every dollar matters at the Capitol. But did some money go missing at one state agency?
You have to have an accounting for what happened to that cash.
Tonight, Dennis Owens uncovers why bad bookkeeping is just the beginning.
It doesn't look like there were checks and balances.
Tonight.